You've seen the word literal in vendor docs, academia, overheard your coworkers discussing it. Maybe you even saw it in a Python error. What actually is a literal? Literal is one of those industry terms that made me scratch my head whenever I heard it. I assumed that it was a really complicated idea that only programmers understood. Let me tell you, it's not. In fact, when I finally learned what a literal was, it was anticlimactic. I thought, wow, that's really it? I was stressing about understanding that. So today we'll break down what a literal is, simply, clearly, and thoroughly. At some point in this video, you're going to get that aha moment and everything will click. Let's get started. A good way to understand a literal is to contrast it with an idea that is kind of its opposite, which is a variable. Let's cover them both. An analogy is the best way to understand literals and variables. So imagine this. If I ask for a literal basketball, I will get an actual basketball. But if I ask for a box named box 1, sure, I'll get the box, but there could be anything inside that box. There could be a baseball, a football, or even that basketball. In this instance, the variable name is box 1, but we're actually more interested in what is inside the box, since the box is just a container for something. A variable has two elements, a name and a value. The name is how you call the variable, but the value is what you get. In other words, I may ask for box 1, but I'm going to get the value of basketball given to me. A literal is more straightforward as it does not have a value. You could say its name is its value, since what you see with a literal is what you get. As a side note, when someone calls the contents of a variable in Linux, they typically place a $sign in front of the variable name. This tells Linux, hey, I want to use the value contained inside of this variable. But when someone calls a literal, there is no $sign because there is no need to tell Linux to do anything special. Let me show you some examples in the shell. So we'll be going over two environment variables, user and hostname. Notice the $sign in front of both variables. Now, an environment variable is like a sticky note your computer keeps on its desk. An environment variable stores little bits of information that programs can look at when they run. So let's take a look at what user I am currently running. Now, let's take a look at the name of my machine. Now we are going to reference those two environment variables I mentioned earlier using the echo command. Echo user. So $user is the name of the box, which contains the value vero. Echo hostname. So in this instance, the box name is $hostname, and the value inside of the box is ITASAP. But now we can take environment variables and place them inside of single quotes, making them literals. We go like this, echo, single quote, user, single quote. See how now instead of telling me the value of the variable user is vero, I put single quotes around the variable, turning it into a literal, so now it's literally $user. We'll do the same thing with hostname. Now how about this? Let's create our own variable. We'll make a variable called name, and we'll give it the value John. We'll call the variable's contents. And finally, we'll make it a literal by enclosing it inside of single quotes. Here's the bottom line. A literal is the value itself. No placeholders, no lookups, no variables pretending to be something else. When you see the number 42 or the phrase hello, that's the real deal, no tricks. Once you get that, you'll stop second guessing what's changing and what's locked in. Literals are the constants in a sea of chaos. And knowing the difference is what separates the script kiddies from the pros. That's it for literals. If there's a Linux topic you'd like broken down simply, clearly, and thoroughly, drop it in the comments. That's how I decide what to focus on next. But in the meantime, keep learning, keep pushing, but don't stress yourself out because a calm mind takes in information easier than a stressed one. And you'll get there if you don't give up. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.